Hi everyone, my name's Geoff Martin. I'm based in Sydney, Australia, and I'm a survivor of encephalitis. I had it about 7 or 8 months ago in March, and I want to tell you my story, and I want to share with people who are survivors of encephalitis, or even other diseases or hardships. Life's not over; it's changed. We're all new. We're renewed, and there is life after trauma. Not that I'd recommend it, but if it happens, the card's dealt, we've got to deal with it. Excuse me for wearing my beloved Sydney Swans Aussies Australian football jersey, but that's just part of who I am. That's what happens with us Aussie males and females too. Great sport. So I'm going to tell you a bit about myself first before I kick off. I am born in Sydney, Australia. I lived here most of my life. I spent a couple of years in Japan. Brought up, great background, fabulous parents. My mother cared for others and helped them as a teacher achieve their potential. My dad was long, hard, steady, loyal, always worked for that end goal. Keep going, work, get there, celebrate. And my life was largely shaped by that, but I'd like to think I've picked up a few things in myself. Life was good. Worked hard, got places, met my wonderful partner, Therese, who's back in Ireland on holidays, back to her birthplace, and two wonderful kids who are now adult kids. And yeah, good job, love my job, fabulous, absolutely the best job in the world. And life is good. Life was very good. So let me tell you a bit about the journey of encephalitis. In March, I was hit by this really bad viral flu, and it knocked me out for 5 days. I was asleep in the bed, not moving much. I was okay, but just flat on my back. And it went much longer than I've had viral flus before, for a day or two. But, as my son said to me, he's 20 years old, Dad, I've never seen you off work for a week. And he was right. And I said, geez, you're right. Anyway, on the 5th day, on the Friday, I felt good. Got out of bed with my partner. We went shopping. I thought, all right, that's it. I'll be back to work on Monday. It's over. And then the migraine from hell came in, and it hurt. And I don't really get migraines. I've had some bad hangovers, so it was probably comparable with that. Not that I'm proud of that, but in terms of comparability. And it just wouldn't go away, and I had Nurofen Plus, and it did nothing. So after 2 days of migraines from hell, my partner, who was great and was also a nurse, took me to the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital in Sydney to the emergency late one night, early one Sunday morning. And they checked my heart, I was feverish, pain, gave me 2 bags of fluid. 2 bags of fluid were great. It was actually on St Patrick's Day, so much better than Guinness, I thought. Felt good, went home, they said come back if it doesn't get better. And of course, it didn't get better, it just got worse, it just hurt, it hurt. Monday morning, she was off to work as a nurse to another hospital and said, drop me by the hospital, I've got fever again, it just won't go away. So she dropped me off, and as soon as I got there, of course, the fever went, and the sweating and everything went, and they said, all right, you're all right, go home. And, I presented pretty well, so I don't blame anyone. It's the nature of the illness. So I went home, and then it came back, and I couldn't sleep, and migraine from hell. Went to my local doctor who's known me for 20 years, and he said, yep, we'll send you back to hospital. And I said, mate, don't let him out until I know what's going on up here. And he said, yeah. And he rang the hospital and said, yeah, we're expecting him. And he said, yeah, I think that's a very good idea. And I thought, all right, wonder what that is. So I get to the hospital, my wife comes back from work, and the doctor says, oh, your local doctor says, I think you should have a spinal tap. And I said, what's that? And he told me, he said, no way. And then I thought, yeah, I better. So I had a spinal tap, which was pretty simple. And then they looked at the fluid. Oh, it's not meningitis. We'll send it off to the lab. Stayed overnight in emergency. Still throb. No seizures or anything like that, luckily for me. And sure enough, next day, it doesn't seem to be anything in it. Right. And my partner was at work. They rang her and said, look, I think he's going to be okay. He's looking better. Can you come and pick him up? Oh, I'm at work. Can't pick him up. Oh. Well, when do you finish? Oh, in another 5 hours. Well, can he get a taxi home? She said, he's not getting a taxi home. he's waiting there. I'll come and pick him up in 5 hours. You leave him there. And thank you. Partners are so supportive in these environments, as many of you will know. So she arrived, but just before she arrived, I really started to sweat and incredible fevers, and the whole bed was just saturated, almost like I'd wet it. Well, I did, with my perspiration, getting real dizzy. And a doctor who saw me there the first night said, "Oh, what's he doing back there?" And they told him, and said, "Oh, really? Oh, we better check that the spinal fluid in the lab again." So he rang the lab, and they said, "Oh, yeah, we've just discovered the culture of HSV1, herpes simplex 1 virus." Is in there, and he comes back to me and he says, "Oh, Mr. Martin, I'm the doctor, saw you. I was a bit worried. See you here again." So I rechecked. Thank goodness, good on him. And we've discovered herpes simplex virus 1 in your brain. That means you've got encephalitis. And I did have a dear friend, still do, who I met 20 years ago, a year after she'd had it, and she had complete amnesia. So I knew what it was, amazingly. Not a lot about it, but I knew that it stuffs your brain. So I thought, right, okay. And he said, "You're going to be here for a couple of weeks." And my wife then walks in and sees me wet, saturated in the bed, looking a bit, and she said, and she burst out crying, "What's wrong? What's wrong? I thought you were okay to pick up." I said, "Oh, I've got something wrong with my brain. I'm going to be here for weeks." Poor thing. Anyway, long story short, I was there in hospital for 22 days, all up, mainly to get the cyclovir, as you know, the kind of Zovirax, into you to kill the cold sore, my old mate. And I got better, but I did, a couple of days after I got admitted, I did have a major brain hemorrhage on the right side of my brain, complete blood in there, and they didn't pick that up until a scan a day later. So that was a miracle. I dodged a bullet, as many of you know, and probably a lot of you have had side effects from a bleed. I was able to walk and talk. I did have impact to my visual memory. I couldn't drive for a period of time afterwards, but my cognitive neuropsych test, came back, and I was off work on a terrible recovery but mainly just complete fatigue and emotional, very sad, a lot of grieving, a lot of crying, and just absolute exhaustion. But I did get back to work after 4 months on a return to work injury plan at my work. Luckily, my boss, the CEO, is CEO of Australia's preeminent return to work injury management company. How lucky is that? And lucky I've been there for a long time, and I've put a lot into the organisation myself. So here I am. So my story today is about, as a result of my, so I want to share with you, I've had a virus in the hard drive. The hard drive's crashed, got quite bad, got quite broken, and then the doctor virus thing was put in the software, and the whole body, the restoration process has really done a lot and at restoring it. And I still get brain fog, I still get fatigued, but I'm 90% plus, which is great. But after the crash, my brain was restored. Now, in my case, I actually got a brain upgrade to version 1.2. And so as a result of my wonderful cold sore rearranging my head, my brain's been rewired and I see things that I didn't see before. So I want to share some of those things with you. Maybe some of you have seen that before, you've experienced, or if you haven't, hopefully I can share with you my story, that maybe you too can see what I see now that I couldn't see before. And there's 15 things I've learned from this cold sore virus. Now the first thing is, my first point is humour heals, absolutely heals. And laugh a lot, because laughing is good. Laugh at yourself, and it's when you're a bit brain dead and you've had a brain injury, laughing at yourself is really, really easy, trust me. I think you know what I'm talking about. Laugh at yourself. Like, when I'm back at work and one of my colleagues I send off to a human resources legal conference, and he says, he texts me to say, "Thanks for sending me on the conference, it was really good, lots of info, I'm really brain dead." So I text him back and say, "Mate, come to work tomorrow, I'll show you what brain dead is. Come and meet me tomorrow." So just things like that, or the times where I'm absolutely exhausted and I get the fatigue, less so now, but it still happens. And I feel sorry for myself, I feel like crying, And then I realised actually the body is working hard at restoring that. So I'm fatigued, I'm exhausted because of all the hard work this is doing to fix that. So now when I get brain fatigued, I feel sorry for myself. I think of it, well, actually, now I'm so fatigued. That means my body's worked hard to help restore my brain. So because I'm so fatigued today, I'm going to be brainier tomorrow. So if you're feeling fatigued, just laugh and smile, and you'll be a little bit more brainier tomorrow, I promise you. So that's the first thing, humour heals. The second thing is beauty is everywhere, and it really is. And I was quite blind to beauty. My partner, my family, my boss, my workmates stepping up into this abyss that I threw them all in. It was worse for them than I think it was for me. They went out of their way to support and care for me. They were everywhere. People tripping over each other to help me and nurture me. Me. I mean, why me? But they did. And so just the beauty I've seen in human beings as a result, and I realised I kind of knew this. I wasn't immune to the understanding, but I now see that, people are beautiful, and people intrinsically want to be beautiful and help others. So beauty is everywhere. We look at the bad things. The media and our governments are now teaching us to fear. Don't fear. There's beauty in every human being, and beauty in nature, beauty in the fresh air. Walking from the train station to work yesterday, passing the Asian bread shop, just the smell of that bread, and I just wafted it and thought, what a beautiful smell. 8, 9 months ago, I wouldn't have noticed it. Unless I was eating it and tasting it. There's beauty everywhere, and let's recognise it and let's celebrate it. So the third thing I'd like to share is, and it's related to number 2, you don't see what you're not looking for. But if you open your eyes and look for something, it's there. And all these things, before my brain was kind of rewired by my trusty cold sore virus, I now see things that I didn't see before. So look, if your eyes are shut, you don't see them, whether it's beauty, whether it's a chance in life, whether it's doing something differently or being more focused, it's everywhere. And then that leads us on to a similar thing. There's blue sky in all darkness. And I think we've all been through a lot of darkness, whether it's an illness or whether it's just life. But if you look hard and you look through the darkness, there's a glimmer of blue sky. Follow it and you'll find more. It's there. There's beauty. There's blue sky everywhere. Look for it. I promise you it's there. Then the fifth thing is, if you see the beauty, if you see the blue sky and other people are doing it, thank everyone every day who touch others in any way, even if it's little. Again, like my father, work hard, work long, get the big bang, celebrate then. Actually, an admirable skill, thanks Dad. But in addition to that, tick off your milestones, tick off the great things you do in every little way every day, and thank others around you for making that difference, for that little thing that makes them a wonderful human being. So let's thank everyone and let's encourage people to be their most beautiful self, because beauty is everywhere. Open your eyes and you'll see it. There's blue sky everywhere. Number 6. Now, I can't claim this one myself. Some of you may know this or have read this. This is a famous letter that Richard Branson wrote to himself. So Google Richard Branson and the letter he wrote to himself where he says, "We are human beings, not human doings." And that so resonates with me now. I'm a human being. I need to be in the moment, not do to be later, not do to be something then when I can be now. And all those things life went by and I was doing, not being. Now I still do, but I be more. And as one of my friends said to my partner, he really seems to be more present. He's in the moment. He's really listening and attentive. He's present, which leads me to my next point. Be present. It's like Richard Branson said, be, not do. We're human beings, not doings. Be present. Be now, not then, not later. Be present. There's so much beauty It's there. Be present. Notice it. See it. Open your eyes. There's blue sky. I promise you. Number 8, be in touch with your emotion. Be in touch with your heart. I'm in touch with my emotions now. I'm telling you, my filter's been lifted on that. Be in touch with your emotions. It's okay. We're human beings, and our emotions kind of help us around our well-being. And so be in touch with your emotions and your well-being, which then leads me to the next point, to look after everyone else. And we often have a propensity to look after others, and that's what I certainly like to do. That's what I learned from my mum and others around me. But if I really, really want to make a difference to the world and other people, well, guess what? I have to look after myself first. So if we're not looking after ourselves, how the bloody hell can we look after everyone else? And sorry about that. That's an Australian saying, how the bloody hell. It's called the Laura Bingle saying. How the bloody hell can we look after everyone else unless we look after ourselves? So look after ourselves, right? And that then leads us to number 10, which is similar. We're not machines. Now, I have banned that word from my vernacular other than telling this story, but I used to use the word machine. Oh, he's a machine, she's a machine. Well, actually, we're not machines. It hurts. There's blood running through there. And we'll look after ourselves. We're human beings, not doings. We don't do. We end up doing, but we're also beings. We're not machines, right? Even machines need maintenance and oil, right? And we're humans. So we're not machines. That's my number 10 point. Number 11, and this is self-explanatory. Be ruthlessly selfish to be awesomely selfless. Be ruthlessly selfish to be awesomely selfless. Don't need to explain that. So that brings me to point number 12, I think. I'm losing count. Oh no. Is it my cognitive thinking? You always think that, don't you? Yeah. Learn to cry again like a baby. Now, some humans do that quite well. But particularly for us male kind and us male Australians, where there's a very high suicide rate, and it's probably not uncommon in the world with men, we lost the skill of that in childhood. And through my whole rehabilitation and restoration of my brain and being off and recovering, my emotions went up and down like a yo-yo. I probably spent a good month to 2 months crying like a baby almost every day, sometimes for hours at a time. And it's good for you. It's good to get in touch with those incredibly important coping mechanisms that you're taught as soon as you're born in the world, and we forget about that. And it's very powerful. It's okay to cry, and I get tearful now. And I'm a lot more tearful, and it's good. It's good for you. It's good, makes you feel better. So learn to cry again like a baby. So that leads me to number 12 point, I think. Be thankful of your past, not shameful of your past. Don't beat yourself up for who you were. Who you were is part of who and why and who you are now. And so I had a lot of time I call this my brain sabbatical, and this is where these points come from during my brain sabbatical. I thought, maybe I see so much more now. Geez, was I a bad person? Well, no, I wasn't. I was great. Life was good. But guess what? It just got better. It just got better. So I'm not going to regret my past. I'm going to celebrate who I was and am, and I'm going to get excited about what can be, not what could have been. Right? So don't beat yourself up. Rather than regret what we could have been, get excited about what we will be and can be. And that then brings us to my next point. And why? Because there's so much more. There is so much more. We're not limited. Sometimes through illnesses we're limited, but there's so much more. And then that brings me to my final point. We need to celebrate and be grateful. This was pretty awful and pretty awful for the people around me, and I think for a lot of you out there it's been pretty awful for you, and in some ways probably much worse than my situation. But let's celebrate where we are, how far we've come, and let's be grateful for the new insights we're given, and let's be grateful. Gratitude is such a powerful thing. If you have gratitude, you're happy and you're enthused. Like I have gratitude to be able to deliver my feelings to you today from the heart, in touch with my emotions about what I've learned during my brain sabbatical. And grateful that you've spent 19 minutes and 25 seconds. Cognitively, I'm still working, thank goodness, and you've listened to me. So be grateful, because I really ask everyone, we need to celebrate, be grateful, and be present now. You don't see what you're not looking for. So, for goodness sakes, open your bloody eyes and keep finding that blue sky, because it's there, I promise you. Thanks for spending your time with me. My brain sabbatical has been good for me. I'm a better human being as a result of this bloody awful disease. And we can all be better human beings and make this world a much better place. Thank you.